Welcome into another edition of Friar Territory here on the Foul Territory Network. I'm Kyle Glaser alongside the great Heath Bell. Heath, originally this show was supposed to be a top 5 pitching targets for the Padres in free agency. Instead, the news broke this morning. Chairman John Seidler, in a letter to fans, announcing that the Padres ownership group will be exploring potential strategic options for the team, including the possibility of a sale. Heath, jumping right into it, what is your reaction to hearing that the Padres ownership is exploring the potential of a sale?
Okay, so there's two things. One, I'm actually at Mets fantasy camp, New York Mets. That's where I started my career. And it was kind of a buzz around the locker room. And you know how New Yorkers are. They were like, hey, if everybody gets together and has 12 million, like $14 million, we could buy the team. But here's the thing. The Seidler family has done such a great time, great situations. Peter Seidler's kind of made the Padres a playoff contending team every single year. It's kind of sad to me
No.
to kind of feel like that they're gonna sell the team. And then the other side, the more I think about it, it's like, okay, well, if they're not, maybe Peter Seidler was a great baseball person and loved baseball. Maybe the other brothers don't, and maybe that's why they're going to sell a team. I don't know why, but it's kind of like it's kind of mixed feelings, because I feel like the Peter Seidler family or the Seidler family, excuse me, have made the Padres who they are today. A playoff contention team, or possibly World Series team. We haven't been it there yet, but we've gotten close, and it's a bummer. But hey, maybe the new owner is going to be even better. So you know, I don't think we're going to go back to the Morad, where it's just like we're not gonna spend money and we're gonna trade off for players. So it's maybe a good day. It's just kind of a hit and miss right now.
Anytime there's news of a potential sale, that does create an environment or an atmosphere of uncertainty, maybe some instability. And again, I want to be clear here. It is not a guarantee that the Seidler family will sell. I want to read the start of the letter just verbatim, just so there's no, crossed wires or missed signals here. To our faithful fans, I want to share with you that the family has decided to begin a process of evaluating our future with the Padres, including a potential sale of the franchise. Then he goes on to talk about they're going to undertake the process with integrity and professionalism. Notably, he did say during this process, as we prepare for 2026, the Padres will continue to focus on putting every resource into winning a World Series championship. Again, they need to back that up with action, but I will say from the Padres' perspective, the long-term health of the Padres, you're exactly right. On the one hand, what the Seidler family has done has transformed this franchise into one of the premier franchises in baseball when you look at where they are in the standings every year, where they are attendance-wise, and just overall how they're viewed as a first-class operation. Again, look at wins, look at attendance. They're in the top 10 in Major League Baseball over the last 6 seasons, which is something that has never been true in this franchise's history. At the same time, you're right. If the brothers, who currently are the primary owners of the Padres, do not share the same passion or do not want to put in the same level of resources, the best thing for the franchise long term is to sell the team. So, on the one hand, it's a little bit disconcerting. On the other, I also applaud them for not doing what some families do, which is inherit a team and then just use it as a piggy bank without ever actually putting their resources back into the club.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't have anything bad to say about the Seidler family. They kind of transformed the Padres into kind of that slow market. We develop guys and then we trade them to other clubs, and maybe we'll have a good year. They've actually spent money, and they've made a great team that's consistent and this and that.
Yeah.
It's just hard when you have a brother group and like one is leading and that passes away. Everybody has their own path, so it is what it is. But I really feel like, say another person comes in and buys it, he's not going to be the old school way of, well, I'll just make some money and sell off and won't spend money. No, they're going to see potential of, this team has a chance of winning a World Series. Maybe I just need to get one or two pieces of the puzzle. So, but you have to admit,
Yeah.
And you have to agree that the Seidler family is a huge part of this. And I honestly, if they sell the team, I'm not going to be mad with the Seidler family. I'm just going to be happy. It's just kind of more of like, man, I really wanted to do it for Peter, and we didn't do it for Peter, and that's the only thing. So, but I got to give kudos to those guys, and like you said, if they're not really in on it, then I get it. It's fine. It's business, but they're a big part of why San Diego Padres are a contention team every year.
And again, whoever buys the team will be inheriting an asset that has grown dramatically in recent years. Once again, the Padres have been among the league leaders in attendance every year since stadiums reopened post COVID. This is a team that, again, has been to the postseason 4 times in the last 6 years, coming off back to back 90-win seasons. There are a lot of positives. And again, the business operations side is fantastic, what the Padres have in place. So you're walking into a situation, if the Seidler family does choose to sell, part or all of the team. Again, they could also just sell a majority share, keep a minority share. There's a lot of different possibilities here. But the key is whoever a potential new owner is has to be willing to spend, if not to the level of Peter Seidler, still to a level that will allow the Padres to compete. And I've written about this and talked about this a bunch, including the 2025 World Series now. 30 of the last 33 World Series champions were in the top half in Major League Baseball in opening day payroll. 2 of the exceptions, the 2015 Royals and the 2017 Astros, made midseason additions, Zobrist and Cueto for the Royals, Verlander for the Astros, that put them into the top half of payroll in baseball by the end of the year. If you are not in the top half of baseball and payroll, you are not a World Series contender. Period. End of discussion. We talk all the time about the Rays, the Brewers, the Indians/Guardians. To win a World Series, to acquire and keep both the stars and the depth required to be a championship team costs money. Period. So if a new owner comes in and it's a situation like going from Moores to Morad, where look, Moores was never a big spender, but the Padres were, 15th, 16th, 17th. They weren't 28th, 29th, 30th. And then they go to Morad and his group, which did not have the capital to own a team or field a competitive team, as you witnessed firsthand. That would be devastating. So I think on the one hand, yes, if the Seidler brothers, who are currently in control of the team, don't feel like they're in a position to invest to that level, then selling the team is the right move. However, who they sell the team to is absolutely key here, because you want someone who will continue the investments, not pull back on them.
Yeah, we need somebody like Mark Cuban, that just sold the majority of the Mavs. Just somebody that like is passionate and wants to win, wants their business to do really well. But yeah, I totally agree with you in that aspect. So it's just, we just have to wait and see. But there's a good chance. Here's the thing, like you said, the side of the frame is there's not a guarantee it's going to sell or any time. And they said they're, still want to win in 26. There's still the team is really good. One or two pieces away from having a legit chance of winning the World Series in 26. So people have to remember that. I think this is whole like selling the team. They're gonna be like, oh well, they don't want to win and this and that, but we're really close of being a really contending, for the World Series. So we're not far off.
And with that, Heath, I want to have a conversation with you because you've lived this about how potential ownership instability affects free agents, how they view the club. We're going to take a quick break, hear a word from our sponsors, and dive right into that.
Kratz Pop Quiz. What has 35 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber, 27 essential vitamins and minerals, comes in excellent flavors like, of course, chocolate, vanilla, but chocolate peanut butter, my favorite. No added sugar, gluten-free, under $5 per meal, and is ready to drink.
Go out the house, get yourself a Sheel. Look at you. You even have one right there. Ready to smack that, John? Chocolate peanut butter, chocolate, and vanilla. Deliciosos.
Also, there is a new Daily Greens ready to drink. 42 vitamins, minerals, and superfoods. Only 25 calories on that one. 4 grams of fiber. There's flavors like blueberry, apple, peach. Huel makes healthy eating simple. They also just launched into Target stores nationwide. Try both products today with 15% off your purchase for new customers with the code FOUL at huel.com/FOUL. Use that code FOUL and fill out the post-checkout survey to help support FT.
Welcome back to Friar Territory. All right, Heath, you lived through this in the late 2000s when John Moores, of course, longtime owner of the Padres, went through a divorce with his wife Becky. That ultimately led to a sale of the Padres to a group led by former agent Jeff Morad. They did not have the money to support a payroll really above $40 million, and the team struggled for the most part. 2010 obviously was a great season, but on a year-to-year basis, the team was not able to be competitive. Eventually, they had to sell the franchise back to Moores, and that is when Ron Fowler and Peter Seidler and their group came in. So a lot of ownership instability in that era. You lived through it. From the perspective of a player, how does this uncertainty of potential sales, potentially new owners, how does that affect you guys, if at all?
Well, see, like in '07, we had a pretty good team. We almost made the playoffs.
Yeah.
And then '08 was kind of a down year, but it was we kind of knew the ownership was going through divorce and might sell the team. And then he sold the team. And we were kind of like, okay, we got new ownership, but then we kind of quickly found out within a year he was just kind of wanted the team and didn't have the money for it, because then he started trading away our main guys. First it was Jake Peavy, and Jake Peavy had a no trade clause, and I think he denied it 2 or 3 times before he said yes.
Yeah.
And then it was Adrian Gonzalez, and then I was rumored to get traded, but I didn't. I ended up going to free agency. So it was kind of bummed out, because you felt like you had a good core. Jake Peavy got signed under contract. Adrian Gonzalez, even though he got a big deal with Boston, he was willing to take a hometown discount, but it was like no negotiation. So it was kind of like, or he's not going to spend money. He's just going to trade us away. And then honestly, as a Padre fan, you were kind of like, oh, this is kind of the old school Padre way. So it was bummed a little bit, but I'm pretty sure the guys, when Will Myers and them had the Seidler family showed up, they were probably excited. Eric Hosmer didn't turn out. Then Manny has, blossomed, and then Tatis. So there's all these guys that you're like, you just feel like when you're playing, you want the ownership. Hey, if we need a reliever, we need another bat, we need a first baseman. They're willing to go get somebody, even if it's for a year, to make a playoff run. And I feel like the Seidler family's done that. So hopefully the next ownership comes in and isn't, we're just going to be cost effective. We're not going to spend money. I'm not sure. Hopefully the new owner comes in and says, hey, I want to win too, and we'll help you out. You don't always need to spend $300 million on people. You just need to find pieces to the puzzle. Because I say 300 because it seems like the money's going that way. I mean, you got Juan Soto 800 and Ohtani 700, and Vladimir Guerrero 500, and I'm like, I heard of Kevin Brown getting $100 million. So it was like,
that was a
wow.
huge deal.
Yeah. So
252, that blew everyone's minds. But
so it was just kind of like, anyway. So I really think whoever purchases a team, if it's next year, this offseason, or a year or two down the road, is going to want to spend a little bit of money to get a World Series championship and team. And the one note that I want to say is the Marlins. I know I played for them, but the Marlins had an owner that ended up selling the team, and the new owner came in and they won the World Series the first year. Yes. And it was almost kind of like the old owner's team they set up. And I want to say they got 1 or 2 pieces and they ended up winning the World Series. So I know that new owner that I ended up playing for took credit for it. But if you really know baseball, it was really the old owner kind of set that up. So, I mean, it could be something new with the new owner. So I've got good intention, or good high hopes for, this to happen, where we win a World Series, unfortunately for the new guy, but really it was for the Seidler family.
I think in terms of the Padres, one of the biggest concerns in the short term is how this will affect free agents and whether or not they decide to come to San Diego when they have comparable offers. And I want to dive into you with this because you talk about, right, when you know there's an owner in place who has shown he is willing to spend. And one of the big things the Seidlers emphasized and did, Peter Seidler and Ron Fowler deserves credit for this as well, is they wanted to turn San Diego into a destination, into a place where marquee free agents wanted to sign. And look, not all their big free agent contracts have worked, but nonetheless, they have made San Diego a much more attractive destination when, frankly, for most of this franchise's history, they weren't even on anyone's radar because you knew they weren't going to pay. In terms of...
Go ahead.
Say, will this hurt this ownership instability? If you're a free agent and you have to decide, does this play into your, does this factor into your decision?
I don't think it does, because the Padres are only 1 or 2 pieces away from winning a World Series championship. So, like, I remember back when the Nationals overpaid Jason Worth just to kind of start getting guys to come there. And then all of a sudden it was really easy for guys to come there, and they ended up winning a World Series. I feel like the Padres are in the same boat. They have potential. So if they sign, if you're a starting pitcher and the Padres give you an offer that's kind of like, well, do I want to go there? Because it's a good offer, but do I want to go there? You're going to say, yeah. They've won 90 games the last 2 years.
Yeah.
They have potential. They just haven't had the starters. I could be that difference. I could help them get over that hump. So I think what the Seidler family has done the last couple of years, it's not going to affect free agency that much, really, at all.
I also will say, I think that the longer this drags out, the worse it will be, both for the team on the field, for fans. That uncertainty will not do anyone any good. So what I would say is the hope is this will come to a fairly short conclusion. Whether or not that means they do decide to sell, because again, they haven't said that they're definitively doing so. They're just exploring the possibility. Or if they decide to keep the franchise. And that does happen. We saw the Angels with Artie Moreno. We saw the Nationals with the Lerner family. They both said they were going to explore sales of their teams. And a lot of people took that as, oh, they're about to be sold. And in both cases, they kept them. So nothing is guaranteed, right? We still have to see what happens. Nonetheless, I think the news definitely sends a little bit of concern just because so many San Diegans have lived this before of having bad owners or owners that won't spend, and you finally have an owner willing to invest and put a competitive team on the field, a consistently competitive team. And this has been, objectively, the most consistently competitive stretch in franchise history. You don't want to lose that. You don't want to go back to the way things were before. And I think that's the biggest key here is whether they keep the team or sell the team, ensuring that they continue to go down the path, I should say, that Peter Seidler set.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to go there. I think it's just people are worried about it. But here's the thing. We don't know everything that's going on. I mean, the start of the year, you had Peter Seidler's ex-wife or widow kind of say she wanted the team or whatnot. And then we didn't really hear. We talked about that for a couple weeks. And then all of a sudden we didn't hear about it for the rest of the year. So it's just kind of, there's a lot of things behind the scenes that we don't know. I mean, personally, I'm like, why would you tell everybody you want to sell the team? It's kind of like a billionaires club. You just kind of talk to somebody. But I think the Padre fans has to realize it's not going to go back to that way. Sometimes you just say, hey, maybe I want to sell my car and see actually what people are going to pay for it. But you don't really intend it of selling it. You just want to see what it's worth. Google and everything tells you, but what would actually people pay for it? So maybe that's the case. I don't know. But like I said, I really don't have anything bad to say about the Seidler family because they've been so good.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. And we're so close of having, a good chance of winning the World Series. And I think for the last couple of years, you're just like, man, we kind of want to do it for Peter. And then Peter passed away. And we're like, let's do it for him. The brothers are kind of in on it, but then this part is kind of like, okay, the brothers want to sell. Is that, and you're just kind of like, I think people are just kind of mixed motions really right now.
Yes.
So yeah, it's just, it is what it is.
And again, this is a process that will take time. Everyone wants answers immediately, and that's just not the way these things work. Again, the hope is it will not drag out. Going back to your point about Sheel Seidler, Peter Seidler's widow, the lawsuit she filed at the beginning of the year. When the show first kicked off, earlier this year, I brought on Michael McCann, one of the foremost sports law experts in the United States, to discuss what it all meant. Generally speaking, over the last 20-ish years, whenever there has been a legal dispute within an ownership group, a sale has typically resulted. Talk about the divorce between John and Becky Moores, Padres sold. The divorce between Frank and Jamie McCourt, Dodgers sold. The Angelos family, the brothers, the family, they got involved in lawsuits. They were suing each other. And even though they settled in August of 2023, the team was sold within 6 months. So generally speaking, when you see this happen, a sale often follows. And I asked Michael McCann about this, and he said, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to when this all went down. That said, that is the general precedent in professional sports and specifically in baseball over the last few years.
Yeah, it's just messy. As a fan, you just want to, you don't want to think baseball is a business and all that, but unfortunately, baseball is a business. It's a company, and the owners are part of the game, but not really part of the game, and supporting. But really, at the end of the day, it's business, and that's the part that's just messy. And if there's a death or a divorce, nothing ever really good comes out of it. So I don't know what to say in that aspect. It's just kind of it's a messy situation. I mean, this might be the reason why. Like I said, we don't know the whole reason. It just that's all I gotta say.
We will see what happens, but in the interim, the Padres certainly have some holes to fill in their roster. Multiple spots in starting rotation. We've discussed they could use another bat, another first baseman. We will see how this affects that, if at all. Heath, like you said, hopefully it doesn't affect free agents' interest in playing for the Padres. Again, this is a team that has been consistently competitive. They also have some clear holes. We'll see if they're able to fill them. Eventually, one of these days, we will have the top 5 pitcher targets for the Padres in free agency. It was supposed to be earlier this week, then Craig Stammen got hired. Then it was going to be today, and this news broke. So eventually, we will get there, I promise. Heath, any final thoughts as we wrap up here?
First of all, if the Peter Seidler family sells, thank you very much. The other way, fans, don't read too much into this. It's the off season. It's just one of those things you talk about. I think it was mid season, it would kind of be like talk about for a day or two and then kind of disappear. So the Padres are on the right page. I feel like they're doing the right thing. And, like I said, like you said, we need a little bit starting pitching. We need a little bit more thump in the lineup, but we don't need 5 or 6 guys. We just need 1 or 2 guys. So we're in the right area. I really feel like there's good things to come for the Padres. I really feel like this is just one of those things that you talk about because it's the off season. So don't put too much emphasis on this, but it's just fun to talk about.
I don't know if fun's the right word, but it is.
Well, I'm trying to think of a good word, trying to not say negative word or anything.
It is certainly a high-profile topic of conversation, and we will continue discussing it as it plays out. In the meantime, this has been another edition of Friar Territory here on the Foul Territory Network. Go ahead and give us a review, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, whatever platform you're watching and listening on. We'd love to hear from you. For Heath Bell, I'm Kyle Glaser. Thank you for watching and listening. We'll be back next week.